All right. Welcome to our December, where are we? 4th update for the Lifeboat Academy. I'm not sure why it's not showing up on the screen, but there we go. Um, if this is your first time seeing us on YouTube, we are the Lifeboat Academy, and we are endeavoring to create a model of resilience and regeneration at the person, place, and community level. Because generally we feel like the waves out there are getting a bit choppy, and it seems like a good time to start to figure out how we can build our own personal place-based resilience networks so that we are better prepared for whatever might be coming. But ultimately, our goal is not just to create a lifeboat for ourselves, but to create a network of lifeboats all interconnected so that we are staying in touch and sharing resources and information as best we can. And to get started, we will each talk a little bit about what aspect of the Lifeboat Academy has our attention at the moment, because it is always a shifting sand. And so right now I will pass over to Roland. Roland, what's got your attention at the moment?
Uh, Balancing energies in all sorts of different ways, balancing energies in my uh, uh, daily um, for for myself and for what the farm needs, and also balancing different types of energies that reach outwards, like um, materially. Money is a form of energy, and food is a form of energy, and relationship is a form of energy. So what's the right balance? Um, that's what's got my attention. Over to Ronnie.
Yeah, similar to what Ben alluded to, there's a lot of shifting and change and transition happening. And it's also, we're moving into deep winter time, which is traditionally a time of hibernation and rest and reflection and death and then rebirth. So I'm really curious how things will continue to emerge and change and settle and then, unsettle and all of those bits and pieces of the process. Back to you, Ben.
Well, I think I have like a hybrid of the two, because I'm definitely, my attention is really focused on planning. And we talk here about aim, act, reflect is our standard process. Treat everything as an experiment. And like Ronnie was saying, winter becomes a time of reflection and figuring out where, reassessing where you are and where you want to be. And I think I am interested in doing that in a way with balanced energy. So it's staying staying grounded and practical, and dreaming at the same time, um, and figuring out how to actually, the big thing that's has my mind or is on my mind is emergence, and what naturally wants to happen, and how can we work with the energy that is already expressing itself and become helpers in that process rather than trying to force something. So, and it just occurred to me that we skipped the land acknowledgement. So my apologies, and I will loop back and say we almost always start with the land acknowledgement because the land is central to everything that we do here. And so by acknowledging the land, we are in fact acknowledging our interconnection and our interdependence with a web of all being and all of our relations, human, more than human, and other. And in acknowledging that, we also acknowledge our deep debt of gratitude and obligation to the indigenous cultures of the world that have kept this truth and this wisdom alive at great cost to themselves, and are offering it up to us at this time when we desperately need it. So by acknowledging that, we also acknowledge that we have responsibilities to right the relationships that may have become out of balance. over these last several generations. And so with that, I acknowledge also the WSÁNEĆ, who are the traditional stewards of the lands on which I currently reside and which I hope to become a valuable and honored guest, a helper in the process of being at one with the land. So the weekly update, we've got a lot going on. And of course, one of our main foci is outreach and developing and growing our partnerships. This last week, Roland and I met with Rebecca Block Berman, who has a farm on Salt Spring and also is associated with a family foundation that's interested in food and all things food. And Rebecca has a farm on Salt Spring, and it was really interesting to listen to her experience over, I think she said 20 years of trying to farm and with elements of culture building and community building on the side. We also now have a date for our meeting with Elizabeth May, January 11th, where we'll be talking about Foodlands Co-op and land stewardship of agricultural lands and the Lifeboat Academy, and how we can, hopefully how we can make that happen with the help of Elizabeth May. And we have a tentative meeting scheduled with Joey Husian to walk through the farm and talk a little bit about our plans and see whether there might be some interest on his part of being a social mortgage holder. And we are arranging currently a date for a meeting with John Kay, who is one of the forces behind Realize Strategies Co-op, which is a consulting cooperative, and who are a registered B Corp and also a co-op. And so we're talking with them about some of those interesting legal questions about optimal structures for what we're doing. And we also had some really productive conversations this week about ways to refine how we're reaching out to people with social mortgages, how we're talking about it. And we've got a process that we are engaged in that's helping to refine those messages. So more to come on that, I'm sure. And we've also had some conversations around clarifying roles and involvement, given the shifting nature of who's where and what's up, and how do we best use our time together. So we've also had some refinements in how our weekly schedule works and some of our regular standing meetings. And in terms of next steps, we'll of course be preparing for the meetings that are coming up, making sure that our materials are up to snuff, good enough for now, safe enough to try. We'll be continuing with office hours, so it's a good, easy way for anybody who wants to reach out to us to connect. And we'll show you how to do that at the end of the slideshow. And the next big thing, and which involves our partners, is seasonal planning outreach, and actually inviting some of our many project partners to help us in that process of thinking about what happens next, what are our next steps. So with that, I'll go back and just Ronnie and or Roland, do you want to, anything you want to add to any of this? All right, so moving on over to Roland to talk a little bit about materials.
Well, we want to recognize that we're entering into the holiday period. So Ronnie has been designing some posts for the holidays that also are reflective of the Lifeboat Academy and our ethics. We've and also in part of preparing for upcoming meetings, it's given us an opportunity to revise and update what we call our compass, and we're still coming up with what to call the compass, but we'll be sharing that soon. And it is a visual aid to understand the interrelationship between different elements that are needed, that we feel are needed for responsiveness to the climate crisis and societal collapse. So that's the Compass, and then the Prezi is more specifically about the Lifeboat Academy and the project that's part of the Lifeboat Academy, which is the purchase of 9891 Spalding Road Farm. Finally, we're working on a one-pager to explain the webinars, to start to encourage people to discover and participate in some new and fantastic and interesting and engaging webinars for the Lifeboat Academy. We're also applying the AIM Act Reflect ethic to some experiences that we've been having on the farm, and addressing what we call, and I think what is known as, cultural narcissism in our onboarding. So it is, it's my understanding there's one of our partners who has some knowledge in the field, who indicated to us that in many progressive projects, there's a personality type that gets attracted to it, which has shows signs of narcissistic tendencies. And one of the reasons why narcissism exists is in part that we are embedded in a culture that is exhibiting narcissistic tendencies. So we all have a little bit of it. So how can we be able to take a step back from ourselves and allow other people to take a step back and to be able to recognize what's happening and move forward in a healthier way? So we're hoping to be able to start adding things more explicitly in our onboarding documentation around that. And in terms of next steps, we have it on hold because it is largely dependent on the next slide. And Ronnie will be talking about the next slide. So over to you, Ronnie. I should ask, does anyone have anything to add to that last slide? And if not, Ben.
I just wanted to say, I think one way of thinking about the kind of narcissism that we're talking about is it's sort of all talk and no game, all hat, no horse. So, it's a tendency that we all have, kind of overselling, overpromising, and underdelivering. And how do we keep things real? So that's all I wanted to add. And over to you, Ronnie.
Awesome. So we've begun talking about seasonal planning and doing our next plan for the 3 or so months to come. And part of that is the farm is entering into winter hibernation / reflection mode. So giving ourselves a nice chunk of time to aim, act, reflect, and review progress that we've made over the past season, so the last 3 months or so, and also the past year that the Lifeboat Academy has been at Spalding Valley Farm. And just an opportunity to just reflect on where we are and where we might want to go. And we're going to be inviting project partners into that process. So we're going to be inviting folks into participating in our seasonal planning with us, which is a way of walking our talk. We use sociocracy and circle process for everything that we do. So we're really trying to move out of any sort of us versus them mindset and really involve our community in creating this project together. So we'll be inviting folks to help us refine our vision for the coming season and the coming year. And we're tentatively planning to have another charrette this January. Our first one was last January, so this will be an annual sort of event to bring people together physically on the farm and also tuning in over Zoom from around the world, perhaps, to do a more in-depth planning process for the Lifeboat Academy. So if you are involved in what we're doing, if you've been working with us in some capacity or a closer capacity, we would love for you to be part of everything that I just said. And if you're not yet involved, but you're curious about being involved, please reach out to us and we'll be sharing contact info at the end of this update. So yeah, we're currently planning the planning. So very exciting things are in the works there. Does anyone want to add anything to what I've shared? Alrighty. And thus, our weekly focus is around meeting with the potential partners. As mentioned, we have a few meetings coming up, including one with MP Elizabeth May, which we've been trying to have for over a year now. So this is really, really exciting. And we're going to be meeting with her, or Ben and Roland will be meeting with her in person on Pender on Sadeas. So that's very exciting. We're keeping on with our outreach and office hours. Please feel free, do not hesitate to attend our office hours to ask any questions or voice any comments or anything that you want to say to us. We're available to meet with you every week. And this week, we're also, like I mentioned, talking about our seasonal planning. So very, very iterative things happening here at the Lifeboat Academy this week.
I think the one thing I want to add on the planning is it's all fractal, turtles all the way down. So it's yeah, it's one of these things where it's like little cycles within bigger cycles, and sometimes from the outside, until you get familiar with it, that can seem confusing and complicated, but when you're on the inside, it really feels like a natural flow, and it feels right. I think this is one of the things I love about farming, is there is a seasonality to it, and there's a logic to where you focus at different times of the year. And so really looking forward to having some hibernation and reflection time, and knowing that that's, fields lie fallow and then they produce a bumper crop. So excited for that. And I guess anything else, Roland, do you have anything you want to add? All right. So that's really it for our update this week. The big news is stay tuned for more information and more ways that you can get involved in helping us think through what the next steps are, where we want to be heading. As always, it's easy to get in touch with us at friends@lifeboat.academy, or to find more information about what we're talking about at lifeboat.academy as our website. And you can always take a look at our ever-changing and evolving help desk, which is at lifeboatacademy.freshdesk.com. There's a lot of information and resources there already, and if there's something that you're looking for that isn't there, there's an easy way for you to ask a question, and that lets us know that we need to get to work and add that resource. So it's very useful to us. And of course, you can follow us on most of the major social media platforms: Facebook, TikTok, Mastodon, YouTube, and Instagram. And if you just search for Lifeboat Academy, we should be the ones who come up on top. So feel free to follow and to reach out to us through those channels as well. And I think that brings us to the end. So yep, I was going to say once around to see for final thoughts. Over to you, Roland.
I was wondering, would you also go over with people how they can sign up for office hours? Which one of the links can be used, and how they can do that? And in part because in recognition of the season, December, we are all moving towards holiday time, and so being able to sign up in advance to attend the office hours is really helpful for us.
Yep. So if you go to our help desk, lifeboatacademy.freshdesk.com, there's at least one article called Office Hours. There might be multiple with a sign up link there. There's also, if you're following us on Facebook or Instagram, we post a weekly events post, which just went out yesterday, last night. That there are links there to sign up for office hours. And also, if you're on our email list, you will also receive a weekly email with the link to sign up. So
Mhm.
check all your channels, and there should be one of those things there. If not, you can send us an email and we will add you and connect you.
Awesome. Any last thoughts, Ronnie? Good. All right. Well, that's our update for this week. And thanks for watching. And we'll see you next week. And keep in touch. Bye.
Bye.